Get in that shot. Frank Isola, Israel Gutierrez, Woody Page, and Bracket Bill Plaschke, who's bragging about how perfect this bracket looks. You want to know why everybody's got a perfect bracket? Because you pick no upsets, people. Come on. Also, Gronk, in his honor, his face, a certain number of times on the screen, a certain number of nice times on the screen. Oh, boy.
What he's best known for.
Matrix TV. Gronk being Gronk. The best Gronk ever.
How does this ball not go in? How does it not go in? Also, back it up a bit. Anybody calling a foul on the body here? Also, anybody calling a push-off here? Anybody calling a charge here? I mean, there's so many plays here. And oh, man, Aubrey Dawkins, how does he not finish this alley-oop? That's the game as well. The inches we need are everywhere. Duke survives. Bill Plaschke, how did they do it?
Well, can we all agree Duke should have lost this game? They should have lost this game.
I'm with you there.
They should have been the losing team. How does that ball not go in? How does the dunk not go in? How does how does UCF not win this game? And also, can we agree this is a blueprint for how to beat Duke? Duke will lose before the end of this tournament. Mark my words, they will lose because UCF figured it out. You make them shoot threes. You back off. Trey Jones was 1 for 8 from three-point. You stack the middle against them. You make them they're the worst three-point shooting team in the tournament. You make them beat you from the line.
Know that.
You do the same thing defensively.
Frank Isola wants to jump all over. Go ahead, Frank. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. We know that's how you beat them. And UCF had their chance. The referees down the stretch swallowed their whistle 4 times. Why not
come
the
on.
5th time on the Taco Fall? Why call a foul there? That's 2 guys making contact, and you can make the case for a charge. But UCF has themselves to blame. Up for the alley-oop that didn't work out. You got to box out. You got to get the rebound on the missed shot, and then the tap in at the buzzer. That's what made it heartbreak because they had the chance to win that game. It was in there.
Israel, what did you say on Wednesday's show? It was that Duke knows they can't hit threes, so it's okay. Well, they didn't really hit threes, and they, are breathing a sigh just to advance here. Go ahead, Israel.
Yeah, and frankly, this UCF team is a very unique team. Obviously, with Taco Fall and Aubrey Dawkins there, you got the inside presence that can't really let Zion do his thing naturally, and yet he still, had a big night. I think it's preparing them for the rest of the tournament, and no, Bill, I do not agree that they should have lost this game because they did win the game, and Zion's a very difficult person or player to officiate, and I don't think that was an offensive foul there. I think there was a lot of things that they just sort of swallowed the whistle on. Yeah, it was one of those classic NCAA tournament games. It's the reason why it's so exciting. But in terms of showing Duke's flaws, we've already seen it. And if another team does this, they'll probably shoot it a little bit better. It's one of those
Okay.
they can adjust.
There's a big probably in the middle of Israel's answer right there. Woody Page, how about you?
Yeah, biblically speaking, after people watched this game in UCF and fell, that they decided that this is time to cheer for Goliath, and that's exactly what happened. If Goliath hadn't fouled out of this game, guess what? UCF would have won because he would have gotten that rebound and there would have been no putback. He was playing exceptional defense throughout, and if they, as Frank said, if they make the 4 calls, the officials, that they were supposed to, UCF wins the game. But here's what ended up happening. They showed, the Dukes did, that they were resilient enough to overcome all that happened.
The Dukes, I like it. Plaschke, please, back in.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is Duke is if you ask me, they're a one-man team. Yeah. Zion Williamson's the only guy they can count on. He took over at the end. You stop him, break him down.
Isola, you want to respond to that?
Cam Reddish is the one that hit the 3 when they were down 4. Then it was R.J. Barrett that had the putback, which gave them the lead for good. To me, there were 2 plays in this game from a strategy standpoint. They could have fouled Zion Williamson dribbling the ball with Duke down 3 with just less than 20 seconds ago. And then if you're Taco Fall, either foul and do not let him shoot, or just say, hey, Zion, here, put on a highlight, dunk the ball. You dunk it, we'll still have the ball and the lead by 1. They did the worst possible thing.
A couple quick hits here. 3 words or fewer, even if you want. Who were you rooting for? Window into your soul, Israel. Who were you rooting for here?
Duke 100%.
Woody Page, you were there?
Yeah, I have Duke to win the national championship.
Okay, but put your bracket aside. Nobody cares about your bracket. Were you cheering for?
I wanted the other team to win.
Okay.
So
Excuse me. All right. Plaschke, how about you?
I was screaming for UCF.
And Isola?
Screaming for him.
Come Come on, Taco Fall and Aubrey Dawkins. You always root for the underdog.
A man in a turtleneck's not screaming for anything. I can't believe you right now, Frank. I'm not sure if you've got elbow patches and a pipe. You're for NPR right now, or if you're Pete the Killer from Goodfellas. All right. Also on the Taco Fall, I mean, Zion versus Taco really was something. It wasn't that much of a mismatch in Zion's favor. Maybe not even all. Could Taco be a pro, Frank? Is there a place for a player 7'6" and that type of game like Taco in the NBA right now?
Of course, we know that the NBA has changed. Can he shoot three-pointers? Probably not. Maybe he could develop into that. But look at Boban on Philadelphia. There's a big guy that can come off the bench. He could block shots. You know, for a guy that size, he moves pretty well. He will find
Israel, how about you?
He moves pretty well, but you're still saying for a guy that size, he does not move especially well. When the game's a little bit more wide open in the NBA, obviously he's going to have more trouble. But there is a place there for him. He's bigger.
Incredibly impressed by him. And the most stunning thing about it?
Very likable.
He's still not as heavy as Zion Williamson is. Zion's got him by 20 pounds, at least on the list of weight. Stunning. All right. I'll say one more thing. Can we say if Duke wins it all, like Woody has on his bracket, maybe UCF can claim a piece of the title? All right? I'll just put that out there.
I saw what you did there.
You know what? Now that you guys like it, I'm muting you because now I realize it wasn't that good of a line. All right, we'll move on. Tennessee, Iowa was the other game that I want to talk about, at least for having some madness, all right? Tennessee was blowing them out, then needed overtime to hang on. And Admiral Schofield, I mean, is a whole SEC player. He told coaches to take him out of the game for Kyle Alexander. Schofield sat himself the whole OT, and Tennessee won by 6. How do you read that, Woody Page?
Well, people talk about, well, what was the locker room like? How about the hotel room? Because they're roommates. And he actually sacrificed and said, I want my roommate to be in there. I think he'll be more effective than I was in the second half. I mean, Schofield comes out and gets 17 points and only makes one basket in the second half. I think it was very unselfish. I think the Admiral could be the Secretary of the Navy after that decision. I believe that made a difference in the overtime because all the other players bonded and said that he is playing for the team. And that's exactly what happened.
Israel, how do you think that's received in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, he's your second leading scorer, and I think he's somebody that you obviously rely on, but they're they're a well-rounded team, and it's not necessary to have him on there. I think if he is the guy that you are going to on a regular basis down the stretch, then he takes himself out, and you wonder if it's sort of a mental issue that he's sort of, was a little bit frail. But in this situation, it just seemed right. I don't necessarily agree with him saying I couldn't really play the way I wanted to with 4 fouls, because if you just foul out, then it's the same thing as taking yourself out of the game. So I don't really believe that. But I do think if it's taken well with his teammates, I don't think it was a question of character or a question of a mental, ability or whatever. I think he was just doing the right thing.
I disagree with you, Izzy. I think circumstance has everything to do with it. The fact that he had 4 fouls, that's why he said, you know what, I can't guard the way I feel I need to. I'm a weakness. But I will say this. I think he got let off the hook by the fact that they won the game, because Rick Barnes and the player would have gotten killed if they had blown that 25-point lead and then lost in overtime. That would have been a hard one to come back.
And Plaschke.
If this were the NBA, we'd be killing the kid. But right now, I think it's a good move for him. His teammate Kyle Alexander even said, thank you for fighting for me. This brought the team together. He was smart. He said he couldn't play like he wanted to play. He did the right thing. Good.
I don't know why anybody would be killing him. NBA or college? Why? I mean,
because if he's getting paid, he's like
he made a great coaching decision. I mean, that's what it was right there.
They lost a 25-point lead with him on the floor.
Does anybody think that they can't go on right here? Maybe they want to take a back seat. I could bring in Ramona Shelburne or George Sedano's leading our bracket right now. Does anybody want to sit for the fourth quarter?
He's not leading it for long. He's not leading it for long.
All right, those 2 games, which were great games, or at least tight finishes in the Tennessee-Iowa game. Those 2 games aside, we got March Madness. Sweet 16 with 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, 2 4s, a 5, and 1 tiny Nike University as your Cinderella. Every favorite won every round 2 game. Average margin in the 48 games, 14.5, largest in 20 years. So does that make for a bad tournament, Frank?
It hasn't been great. I think the Duke-UCF game certainly saved things. But I look at Florida State, the way that they've played. They're kind of like the forgotten ACC school. They were terrific. Then give North Carolina credit. And that guard, Kobe White, he was tremendous. Carolina had to play small. They don't like to play that way. And they still ran Washington out of the gym and out-rebounded them. They've looked
Has
really
Carolina been the best-looking team for you so far, Frank?
Absolutely, and I picked them to win, so...
Oh, well, that's great for you. I'm glad you got a turtleneck on. Gutierrez, how about you? You can answer both questions. Does it make for a bad tournament that it's all favorites, and who's looked best so far?
Well, I mean, I think what you want in those first couple of days, those first couple of rounds, is just the great endings. It doesn't have to be a Cinderella, although that sort of creates the storylines for the second weekend. But we haven't really had a ton of those. I do think the Duke game saved it, gave us plenty to talk about. I like Virginia getting over that hurdle, which is the first half against the 16 seed, and just really rallying and just sort of getting their thing together. If there's a team that has a style and a way to win, it's them. So
really? Oh, wow. That's intriguing from Gutierrez. And Woody Page, how about you?
I would take a bigger view. I think it's the SEC. People talk to the Big Ten and the ACC, but you've got Auburn talking about somebody that's looking good. Bruce Pearl has gotten the Tigers, and Charles Barkley very excited about this. We saw Tennessee, Kentucky, and LSU.
And Plaschke, I know you love this bracket because your bracket's doing great, but I mean, all the favorites winning in the round two, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing?
The TV ratings are huge. We got big matchups coming up. People say they like Cinderellas, but they like to watch Goliaths. And Gonzaga has been the biggest Goliath so far for me. They've handled their business. They haven't broken a sweat. Gonzaga, I'm standing by my pick. Gonzaga's going to win it all.
All right, one more thing.
No Sister Jean.
Ja Morant's triple-double. It happened early in the tournament. And oh, by the way, Sabrina Ionescu approves of it. She does it in her sleep. Jay Williams said Ja Morant's game could translate better in the NBA than Zion. Could that be true, Israel?
It could currently. He's got the more sort of transferable game right now from college to pros. He's such a smart player, and he dishes, like, in that first round game, he didn't even need to score. He was just going out there, drawing the defense and kicking it out to open guys the entire time and getting 16 assists there. So I think that translates. Obviously, the athleticism translates. I think Zion needs to learn the tricks of the NBA trade, if you will, and eventually, if he does that, he will absolutely be the
Frank
best.
Isola?
Now, Florida State really shut him down in terms of him becoming a big story in this tournament. He was outstanding against Marquette, but Marquette did have some bad results down the stretch. In a guard-dominated league, he definitely is going to make a huge impact, especially the passing ability. But if you're going to tell me Zion Williams is going to be healthy throughout his NBA career, I'm taking him.
Okay, but if you're, let's say, a team in your local region, Frank, with the number one pick, any pause on Zion here for Ja Morant?
I think they're taking Zion Williamson all the way. Maybe Phoenix doesn't.
Bill, same question for you because you could.
I think Phoenix has got to take Ja Morant. I think
over Zion Williamson.
The way he played, he's a much more. He won't be the great business. He won't be the great sales job that Williamson will be. He'll be a better basketball player. This tournament opened a lot of eyes. 20-10, the first to do that since 1984. You know, those numbers in the NCAA tournament. I think he's got absolute number one potential.
And Woody Page.
I answer with a question. I wonder about those two panelists that just talked. If they really would try and push their teams that they cover into picking Morant over Zion. Not a chance in the world. And so nobody's going to pick Morant number one because they want Zion. Because of the market. Yeah.
Page 17, Isola 17, and then Plaschke 16, Gutierrez 14. Take a break right here. Are we allowed to take commercial breaks, or does Mr. NPR PBS there, Frank Isola with the turtleneck?
No commercial.
No mercy!
No
Back with Drock Retirement on the other side. Well done, Frank. You're right on that. Retirement, and there will never be another one. We lost our only Grom. From the game, to the spike, to the party, to the essential voice telling lesser humans not to eat Tide Pods. What will you remember most, Bill, and where is he on the list of greatest tight ends ever? Can he be number one with just about 8.5 seasons played?
I think a lot of people will remember him as the human face of the Patriots, the robotic Patriots. He was the human being over there. He's the one that endeared people to him. But I think that doesn't overlook the fact that he is the best tight end ever. He ranks third among tight ends in receiving touchdowns behind Gonzalez, Antonio Gates, and Tony Gonzalez. But he's the best tight end ever in the playoffs by far, his numbers. He's the best big game tight end ever. Best tight end
Woody Page?
I prefer to call him the MVTE, most valuable tight end we've ever seen in the game. I loved Ozzie Newsome. But in regard to how you remember him, he had fun playing pro football. It actually was the National Fun League for him. He never deviated from that personality, and he helped the Patriots with it.
Gutierrez?
Yeah, I'll always remember him as just the perfect, like, frat jock meathead athlete who did it and didn't embarrass himself somehow doing it. I mean, his name, as we mentioned before the show, is associated with a sex act, and then you've got him in there with Bill Belichick and the straight-laced Patriots, and still finds a way to be himself. I think I'll remember more of that than his actual play.
Frank Isola?
Yeah, and he came back from some major injuries as well. And let's not forget that the last catch that he made set up the winning score in the Super Bowl. So he goes out a champion. I think he's going to go down as the greatest ever. I do look at, as you know, Ozzie Newsome, Kellen Winslow, Tony Gonzalez, even Dave Casper from way back when.
Okay.
On,
But you think he's number one?
But for me, I'm putting Gronkowski.
Israel, I didn't get an answer on greatest of all time at tight end.
I don't think so. I mean, he would have been if he played longer, maybe, but just given the longevity, I think he's the most talented, maybe, but I wouldn't say he's had the best career.
How does his departure affect the Patriots, Plaschke? You want to try answering that one?
I know this sounds crazy because I just said he's the best tight end ever, but the Patriots are the best football team ever, and they will survive without him. The only retirements on that team that will hurt them would be Belichick.
Really? Okay, after everything you just said. Oh, he's the greatest tight end ever. Very replaceable.
I'm telling you why I'm saying that. Okay.
Woody Page?
Bill, other teams are coming for them, and I think it is going to have a great effect on him. He was unguardable. He actually caught the pass that led to the victory in the last Super Bowl.
Israel?
But they won without him.
I think Tom Brady needs a security blanket more now than ever, and so he doesn't really have one. So they are going to have to replace him, whether it be a wide receiver or another tight end. I think it will affect Tom.
Isola.
Tony, I'll contradict myself as well. You know, they did win a Super Bowl without him, so it is the
Listen to you guys,
somehow keeps going. Somehow it'll
He's
work.
the greatest ever, but Patriots will be fine without him. Don't worry about it. You know, Drew Rosenhaus seemed to say if the Patriots needed him, he'll come back. I mean, that's always out there as well. He could pull a Jason Witten, maybe. All right, it's a security blanket. You know, don't overlook a weighted blanket. Those are pretty good, too. Buy or sell, 2. 4, hammering the Mets. Listen to this.
I think Drake's best pitcher in baseball right now. I think they should quit all this fuss and pay the man already. We're going to Sarasota and then to Syracuse, and then we're not going to New York. You'd think we'd go to New York. I don't know whose idea that was, but it's not a smart one.
All right, Frank, let's make this like afternoon talk show, radio in New York. Frank Sessa, Syndergaard on everything Mets. Go.
I don't agree with him. No, the Grom one he's
give me
right
more.
about. But going up to Syracuse, you've been in Florida for 2 months. It's for marketing. That's where your minor league team is. It's a quick in and out. It's a workout. What's the big
deal? Plaschke, how about you?
Yeah, baseball wonders why it's got such an image problem. Go to Syracuse, sell the game. How hard is it? Again, spring training, you've been playing golf for a month. Get over it.
Okay, Woody Page.
Bill, you go to Syracuse and sell his show. He doesn't want to have to do it, and he shouldn't have to do it. I'm buying what he said, and he's defending his teammate. He's talking about not his own contract, but he deserves it. So I like what he said. You take a 3-hour bus ride from Port St. Lucie to
I've done it.
Sarasota.
It's called free trade.
The two of you guys. Come on, take a mute.
It's not the greatest of looks for this Mets in their season, right? I mean, he's talking openly about criticisms of these, decision makers and everything else. And I just don't like that he's saying it publicly like this. It's not that big of a deal to create sort of this,
I love when you people and people of your own members of the media say you don't like when guys actually talk when they ask you questions. What are you guys talking about? Frank Sessa, where were you? The points were there for you, but now you won't.
What are you worried about?
You're not back. All right. Page, Isola. Taking a break. Plaschke, Gutierrez. 2 enter, but only 1 will leave.
So you're open all day, every day?
That's what 24/7 means, sugar.
Kind of like how you get 24/7.
Game-winning, walk-off, moon-raking, half-court buzzer beater. Bill, was this good? Was this great? Or was this maybe just a little too weird for your inclinations?
Oh, this was tremendous. And the weird part was Siakam was guarding him. What's the guy doing guarding him at the midcourt line? That's unbelievable. So it's a tremendous shot.
How's that for a reward? Siakam actually played great defense in that entire possession and got a great shot off that he wanted to, and it falls in. I just love that this is the classic way to celebrate, I guess, or to deal with one of those losses.
Oh, it's the surrender cobra, please. Please address it as it is, the surrender cobra. Kemba Walker, next time you watch that, Kemba Walker was walking away, dejected, didn't even see the shot fall. We'll move on. That was the best shot of March. Now the worst 10 seconds of March. Heat Wizards, stop, flop, and roll here, the Thomas Bryant affair. In order, rank them on the scale of worst to worstest, Israel.
I mean, the rolling is ridiculous. The rolling should get you a second technical and an ejection because you're just mocking the whole situation. But even just slapping the ball out of Kelly Olynyk's hands after the whistle is unnecessary.
Is that a backcourt violation? Didn't he roll himself over and back? So he should have gotten not only 2 technical fouls, but lost possession of the ball. I got jokes. I got a ton of jokes.
Yeah, save them for the mute button. Now, say anything you want, please.
Funny ones.
Israel Gutierrez, 30 seconds of FaceTime.
Man, oh man, I keep trying to wait for the time that the Boston Celtics are going to turn it around. And if you have any faith in them flipping the switch, I don't know what you're drinking because they haven't been doing it all year. It's always something. And now, after their last loss to the Spurs, they're just projecting confidence, saying, hey, I'm preparing for the playoffs. I like what we've got going. We've got some injuries. No, this team has been a disaster all season, and it will continue to do so in the playoffs unless we see some sort of change here. I'm not sure if they're trying to psych themselves out or lie to everybody else, but it doesn't seem to be working. I'm not buying it.
Israel Gutierrez, today's winner. Also the author of today's
How do I get -6
pre-show nugget. All right, we'll tell people what we were talking about, Israel. What was the bet? It was $2 billion.
10 half-court shots. You get 10 shots at a half-court shot. You make one, you get $2 billion.
And you miss them, you go to jail for 2 years.
In prison. I'll take it every